Welcome, I'm Keith Tebow at FRC Media. We are getting set for another city election here in Fall River. The preliminary election is happening on Tuesday, September 17th. And at this election, there's only one race on the ballot, and that is the race for mayor. We have 3 candidates running in the preliminary election, and we're going to be speaking to all of them over the course of the next few weeks. And I'm pleased to be joined today by one of the candidates, one of the challengers in the race, School Committeeman Paul Coogan. Paul, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Keith. Appreciate it.
Let's start right off the bat, Paul, with you're out and about, obviously talking to voters, going door to door, meeting them at events. What is your brief, elevator speech when you ask them for your vote and why you should be elected mayor?
My brief elevator speech is that Fall River deserves so much better than what we have going on right now. We saw it this week at the City Council meeting when people couldn't get on the same page to discuss a topic that is very important to the city, like streetscapes. We see it all the time in the way things are handled, both professionally and legislatively in Fall River. We see it when people come to our city to try to help us, like the governor or someone else, and they're not even acknowledged. It's a weird set of events we got going on right now, and I believe the citizens in Fall River deserve better, and I think I can do a heck of a lot better. I know when I'm out and about, I talk to everybody. I'm constantly on the go, and I'm dying to hear their opinions and where they want to take the city. And we're going to do this as a partnership, not me alone. It's very important we work with all factors of city government and make the city a better place to live.
I want to go back briefly to the recall election. You ran in March during the recall, finished second. The mayor was recalled in the first half. You finished second to the mayor in the second half. Did you learn anything from that experience that you hope to take into this election?
I learned a lot. I mean, obviously we were all over the city during that one too. It was a winter campaign, so I thought we were in Game of Thrones. Yeah. It was a bit cold, but this is much better weather for campaigning. But you learn a lot from the people and what they're looking for from a city. What do people want from a city? And what I get is safety, streets that work, some growth, taxpayer relief. Those are the things that come to the forefront every time you talk to people, and it's pretty uniform across the city. What I learned from my opponent was, at my age, obviously I'm a veteran, the next day after the election, he fired myself and one of my friends on the school committee, Mark Costa, which then triggered City Councilor Joe Camara resigning from the building committee at Durfee High School, a committee in which I would consider myself to be an active participant. I went to all the meetings. I offered input. Matter of fact, I was on the subcommittee which went out to the trailers and met directly with the engineers and the builders to get a feel for what's going on in the school. And I did that because obviously I spent a ton of years in that school. And I had an idea of how a school should flow and what should happen. So the next day, around 12 o'clock, I found out from Mark Costa we had been fired. And I was kind of taken back that we didn't even have a 24-hour reprieve. And I've never been fired in my life. So I was like, well, that's an interesting way to handle an election. You're a sore winner. I had no idea what happened. We did. I believe he knows that was a very bad mistake. And after that, he called me a few times and asked me to go back onto the committee, but always in a non-voting role. He realized that he probably went a little too far, too fast. I hope that's what it was, or maybe he wanted my input. But he did call me a couple times and asked me to go back on the committee, and I said, I will not take a demotion. I didn't do anything that deserved that. I believe he was angry that I pointed out the fact that with a $261 million project going right down the road from you guys, he never attended one meeting. He was marked absent every time. He took little interest in the school during the passage of the question or during the building, and I considered myself a keen observer and participant in those meetings, and I still go to them because I'm that interested in how the school is going to turn out, and I still offer my input, but I don't need his permission. He took the voting rights off me, but I want people to know that I am still trying to keep an eye on that school, and I do not want it over budget or over time. I want the school on time and at or under budget. We're not going to go through what happened last time. And I guaranteed people that when we were on the yes vote, and I will work every hour if I have to make sure that doesn't happen.
All right, let's get into some of the issues of the campaign. Some of the ones we talked about earlier this year, they really haven't changed that much. You mentioned in describing how you approach voters that they have a lot on their minds, public safety, tax relief. Do you have a number one issue that is, in your opinion, first and foremost in terms of being mayor of Fall River?
Well, obviously, when you tackle a job like this, you have a whole puzzle full of pieces. The one that comes to the forefront quicker, and not to diminish any of the others, is our streets, the cleanliness of them, potholes, which was going to be addressed this week with the City Council and the streetscapes debate. I like the way Purchase Street came out. I'm not very keen on East Main Street, but I believe that money should have been spent on streets, not streetscapes. I believe that if you go down Slade Street, which was recently repaved, thanks to whoever's working with the mayor to pick that street, to me it's as nice as East Main. I don't believe we got much different than just a regular pave job. I would do more streets and less streetscapes. Cleanliness, those street sweepers would be going, and sometimes I'd like to almost say around the clock. I believe that we can use outside help if necessary, but we have to clean the city. You drive down some streets, East Main being one, go by Walmart, that's their property. I'll go down and meet with the manager there and say, this has got to be cleaned up. We can't have it. You drive by Walmart, it looks like it's just litter, but it looks like a mess. And I think we can do better in the city of Fall River. So you look at stuff like that as a first step, and that'll go along with the safety.
Sure.
The whole time with the safety, we're looking at the abandoned properties that we can do better with. Right. You look at the police. I mean, downtown we have a shooting. So we spend, close to $100,000 in overtime for the police. I would rather put $100,000 into working cameras so that it's there all the time, not after the horse leaves the barn. Let's fix it and let's make it safe for our residents. I think that's what you do. You look at things like that. I would like to see like our big parks like Kennedy, Heritage, North Park with some kiosks so that people can feel safe when they're walking, just like when you walk around your campus. You have those purple lights going all the time. Let's buzz them if something's going on in the parks. I think we can do better for the residents as far as a safe, clean, financially sound city.
So let's dovetail into public safety in general. The mayor has added increases in the number of police and firefighters in the city. How do you see your role as mayor in terms of improving those numbers, getting those numbers higher? Mayor also will boast that he spent a lot of money on equipment for fire and police. What do you think your role would be?
Well, I'm so glad that he did spend some money, the community development money, on the fire trucks and brought them up. They still have one that needs to be fixed, but I think we made significant progress in upgrading some of the equipment for the fire department. But with that being said, we don't have a plan in place for a natural rotation going forward. I think that some of those pieces you have to put a time certain on, and you rotate them out. And we get a regular flow of new equipment in so that it's not all at once. I mean, maybe it all fell into the mayor's lap and he had to do something now, but going forward, we need to have a regular rotation of the equipment. That goes with the police and the fire. As I said during the campaign, the fire department seems like they've upgraded most of the stuff. I mean, we still have a roof that leaks on Stanley Street, but there are some things we can do, and the central station needs work, but those can all be addressed. I'm not against that. With our police, during the negotiations, he thought they were worth a zero raise. He didn't think that they deserved a penny. I would disagree with that. These are the front line representatives to our city. Now, we can do better for them. Do I think, with the recent headlines, that there's some things wrong with the police department? It seems like there could be. I hope they straighten out their house. But the rank and file guy that's out on the street riding around Fall River day in, day out, I'm not going to disrespect them. He wants to say the arbitrator ruled that they couldn't afford a raise with them. Well, he could have pulled that back. he could have pulled that off his desk and sat down with those guys again, just like you and I are sitting down if the mediators aren't doing it, and straighten out some kind of a decent raise for those guys. I know they're trying to do something now, but this is last contract, and that's where we ended up.
Now, what about in terms of staffing levels in the fire police department? You looking to increase those, or is that something you'd have to wait and see?
Yes, that would definitely be a wait and see. I know the fire department, the police, I'm more inclined to say we need to do some increases there. I want more police on the streets. Obviously, people have hit me with both pro and con on 2 men in a car. I've heard both sides of that argument. I did a ride along with the police, at night in Fall River. Sometimes certain sections of the city are a little more rocky than others, but I will support those guys 100%. The staffing level is something I'm going to wait to meet with the chief of the fire and the police, and they're going to recommend the staffing levels. I'm not an expert in police work. I'm not an expert in fire work, but I'm hoping that when I sit down with those guys and their administration, they come up with numbers that they can work with to make the citizens safe. It's not going to be Paul Coogan's call. It's going to be their call.
Okay. Over the last couple of years, Mayor Correa has eliminated some of the fees that city residents have faced, primarily around trash. The trash fee that was instituted by Mayor Sutter, he eliminated. Just before the recall election, he eliminated the pay-as-you-throw purple bag program. He's also looking to potentially eliminate the stormwater fee. In your opinion, from what you know, is this something that can be sustainable? We've already seen that trash costs have gone up since pay-as-you-throw went away. Do you think this can be sustainable, and would you look at eliminating fees as well?
I will look at any way to reduce the burden of costs on the property owners and the residents in Fall River. The last campaign, the mayor, in response to a press release I put out, said I wanted to bring back the bags. He had no proof of it. I came onto your station one day and I made a joke about it, $100 challenge, and no one ever challenged me. No one ever came forward, no one ever, because no one had a charity they wanted to help, and I was glad to do it. So the purple bag, to me, was a smear. I did read the article in the Herald News where it talked about the long-term impact on that to the community, and my contention through the whole article was, show us how this will play out. It might play out okay this year, we have plenty of funds, eliminate the fee. But long-term, where are we going? Right. Where is the city going to go? As far as the stormwater fee, I would like to hear from Terry Sullivan. He's got 30 days to go. Does he think that's a good idea? He's the head of the water department. Let him make the call on some of these things. You sit down with your people that are in those places, and hopefully they can help you.
So that leads me sort of to my general, more of a general budget type question. Obviously the mayor decided to reduce the fees. Would it have been, in your opinion, maybe a better tactic to not raise taxes by 2.5? That could be a little more widespread and not impact specific services like stormwater and trash.
The stormwater fee, from what I've been told, is functioning fine. It's whatever, $6 million. Let's use $6 million as the number. It's my position, if I get in there and I find out what he's trying to allege somehow, that he has $6 million in surplus, I'm not going to raise the taxes 2.5% that year. I might raise them 2%. I might give some real relief to the taxpayers and not have to beat up the council or ask the ordinance committee to take care of this for me. I will do that myself. I will take that $6 million and turn it back to the taxpayers. What he does is he creates a straw world with the purple bags, for example. He eliminated those on his own, but that was after beating up the council for a couple of years about them. If he wanted to eliminate them, why didn't he eliminate them then? Nobody ever got a rebate for buying those bags for 2 years. He took the money and then he did it on his own anyway, after pounding the council about how they weren't taking action on the purple bags. If you can do something unilaterally, then you do it. And it's my position with the stormwater fee, maybe you leave that alone, but you give people the relief in the real estate taxes. They're all paying them. They're all going up. Nobody I know has come to me anywhere in this city and said, gee, I got to tell you, my real estate taxes went down. No one's ever said that. No one, people have said, oh, we saved a fee, or this. I've heard those things. That's accurate. But no one's ever said he's cut taxes. He's raised them to the maximum every year. And instead of doing that 1 year, why don't we leave that alone for now? If we get benefit from the federal or state people, that's fine. But let's give the taxpayers a break. I have $6 million surplus. It may go to them first. He's got $6 million surplus. Allegedly, he's doing a stormwater fee. If I saw the books and that's what it is, that would be the difference.
The mayor also has said that in terms of eliminating some of these fees, he's counting partially on the revenue that may come in from the marijuana dispensaries that could open here in Fall River. As you know, the mayor has signed 14 letters of non-opposition. First of all, is that too many?
Okay.
And how many should we have if the city can control that?
That's the key question,
Right.
Keith. Okay. Anybody that's driven up Canning Boulevard to the casino and seen the line out, the one recreational marijuana facility we have now, knows that there probably is a demand for others. That the city can sustain others. Can the city sustain 14? If Paul Coogan was the mayor, I think I would roll out 2 or 3 or 4 and see how it plays out. But I wouldn't go from 1 to 14. That's not practical. There would never have been that many letters given out. I think that if he had done this in a more piecemeal fashion, rolling it out, the south end, the north end, the center of the city, see how it plays out. See how it plays out. Just giving out letters, 14, I mean, where did that number come from? What study can he show that says the city can sustain 14 of these things? And again, we have plenty of package stores, bars, and everything, and I understand the rationale, but an ounce of pot up there is $480. I mean, if you look at the line, it looks like people going to a Nordstrom's, not going to the Grill 110 or the Republican Club. These are people, those people, the cost at that marijuana facility are extremely, extremely expensive. Right. So we're looking for a different clientele, and can the city draw in enough to sustain 14 of them? Now, if we did 4 or 5 and they were all still going great guns and the money was rolling, let's go to 7. Let's go to 8. But it would be a plan, economic growth, not just here's 14, welcome to Fall River.
Well, there's also no guarantee that the state's going to approve all 14.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so.
Right. So, but I mean, to set that as a target or to put that as a number, let's go a little. Let's walk before we can run. And if we are sustaining 14 of them and they're all flying, then these residents are going to get a tax break. These residents are going to get some real estate relief because that's the kind of money that's coming into that one. Now, if 14 of them are doing that, the city will be in a good financial spot.
You mentioned earlier about public safety and streets and the cleanliness of the city. That all goes to how the city is perceived both by its residents and those from out of town. And that also will lead to probably some opportunities in economic development and job creation. The city still lags behind the rest of the Commonwealth in terms of unemployment. We're still one of the higher unemployment rates in the Commonwealth. What's your plan in spurring some more economic development and hopefully more jobs, quality jobs for city residents?
Right. Well, obviously that's a big thing. What I've done is put together a team already of people that are involved in economic development that are going to advise me on the best direction of the city. Of course, we want to attract businesses, but we want sustainable businesses with a high rate of pay. If you want to improve the climate of a city, you have to have people making more money that becomes part of the money they spend in our city to support other businesses. We're growing businesses, but they're not really the high-end type of jobs right now. It's so funny that you say that because we just left a press conference at the Fall River Administration Building where we are going to build an in-house master's program in partnership with UMass Dartmouth and Bay Coast that we hope can raise the level of educational attainment by our teachers, which in turn should trigger a better educational system. Economic development is something that should be done across the city with the key players involved. What do they need? Where are they going to locate? What are the jobs going to pay? I'm not going to sell out the workers of Fall River for $8, $9, $10 an hour jobs. We have to do better than that. We need an income that allows you to buy a house, an income that allows you to go out to eat, go to a movie, spend money in the community. We don't need a bunch of minimum wage jobs. We need something that's going to grow the community and is sustainable. For example, Meditech could be one that comes to mind. And even though it employs people at a lower rate, Amazon is a growth area that we can look at. We need some companies. We need to support them.
Would you look at keeping the current economic development director that works with the redevelopment authority on?
Well, she's got a 3-year contract,
right.
So I mean, unless
right.
I'm not going down to government center to take a hatchet if I'm elected to everybody. That's not going to happen. If people are doing their job and working hard, they're going to show me what they're doing. I'm going to definitely sit down with them. But I want to know what's going on. What do you got in the works, and where are we going? I don't have any plans on terminating people that I believe are doing a good job. Mm-hmm. If someone's not doing a good job, then that's where we'll disagree. But if someone's working hard to benefit the city, they won't have a problem if Paul Coogan's elected mayor. That's what I want to hear.
Critics of your campaign will say that you're looking to bring back former FroEd, Ken Fiola back into the fold, into this discussion. Do they play a role at all, the Bristol County Economic Development?
Well, they're playing a role right now. The mayor moved, if we all know what happened, the mayor alleged they owed back rent, mm-hmm. and Mr. Fiola moved his company up to a building that they're located in, the old Cherry and Webb, and he's up there now. The mayor ripped him to pieces on not paying rent to the city, and he was on the 6th floor. When they got to court so that the mayor could collect the money that was owed to the taxpayers, the mayor folded his cards and dropped the case. It's my position that if Mr. Fiola or Mr. Tebow or anybody comes forward with plans that can help the city, we're going to listen to them. If they're coming forward with plans that are going to help them, keep them to yourself. I don't want to hear them. But if Keith Tebow comes to me and says, listen, we can add a gym at BCC if we get this grant, I'm going to listen to him. And if the new economic development director is doing what she's supposed to do, or Ken Fiola, or anyone. We have a ton of people in the city, whether it's Ron Rusin, whether it's Joe Marshall, that are invested in the city, right, that want the city to grow. If they have ideas, I'm going to listen to them. Mm-hmm. I'm not closing people out. If they supported Jazel Correa, I'm going to listen to them. We have to go back away from the wedge politics that we try to live on. That one's with him, that one's with them. No. If you have an idea that's going to benefit the city, I'm listening. If you have an idea that's going to benefit you, keep it to yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm not into that. I'm into doing something that's going to benefit the city. And I am not ashamed to tell you that if someone that had been with Jazel Correa right along comes up to me with a great idea, I'm going to shake his hand and say thank you. And I'm going to ask him how we can help him implement it. That's how it's going to work. It's not, oh, you were with him, I can't talk to you, I can't do that. No, we're going to start the game over with a clean slate, and people are going to all be welcome at the table. And as far as me having anybody targeted for any jobs, or they're going to do this, or I'm bringing this one back, that's not so. That's the kind of politics that's being practiced now, and that's what people say. But when you ask them how they know it, they have nothing to say. How do you know that? How do you know it? I listened to that forever in the last campaign. It's hysterical. Paul Coogan's going to bring back the purple bags. How do you know that? That's what you get. You get silence. It's hysterical. Right. It's hysterical. But there are going to be plans, and if people don't want to work, I wish them well in their new job.
Economic development, in terms of getting those good jobs that you'd like to see, I think all the mayoral candidates want to see good jobs to come forward, right? Who doesn't, right? Yeah. Well, that gets back to the quality of the education we have here.
Correct.
Obviously, you have great experience as a school committee man, and years before that working in the school department. Right. Talk a little bit about how you see education as mayor of Fall River.
Well, what we've done in the few short years I've been on the school committee is we've lowered class sizes in the elementary grades. To me, education is based on your ability to read. Reading, reading, reading. We've changed some of those reading programs to phonics based now, and we're trying to move up the scores through the grades. I think the schools right now, physically, with our improvements this summer at Watson, Tansy, and Talbot, we're making progress in all of our older schools. Mm-hmm. Watson, you may not see physical hammer and nail stuff, but the plans going on there to help that school, we're well into it, and it's going to be a much more pleasant environment when we're done. I think that the new Durfee down the street is another example of that. That's going to be one of the most high-tech high schools in the Commonwealth. And if you can partner with Bristol Community College, UMass Dartmouth, and get these kids in a pipeline that leads to jobs, not leads to a degree. Degrees are not going to do it for me. I talked to the president of BCC the other day just for a few minutes at a local restaurant, and we need paras in Fall River. We need paraprofessionals in our classrooms. We need trained paras, and I talked to her about maybe a 60-credit program at BCC where we could have the people at work and dovetail it into our schools, because I know all the schools around here need paras, and it's a rewarding job that can lead to a life in education, and we can build these programs. As far as the schools overall, I tour them all the time, and I walk around because I take an interest in them. I believe people should have confidence that if they're sending their kids to the Fall River Public Schools, I was working with a parent today that's moving their child out of a Catholic school, and they can have confidence that their students are going to get a good education and they can be successful. Do we have glitches in the system? You do when you have an urban city. Everyone in the country does. But if you look at like what goes on at Providence, we're way past that. We are way past that. Providence is going to catch up, but right now we're down the road a lot further than them on some of the issues that they're wrestling with over there. We've made progress and we're heading in the right direction.
You mentioned about the opioid problem that the city faces. What role can a mayor play in helping to curb that scourge on our society?
Opioids are an addiction. I grew up in a family where my father was an alcoholic. I hate to tell people, but an alcoholic or a drug addict, they're not much different. If they're that far gone, then they need help. It's my position that a mayor can be the leader of the programs that are in the city. If I get elected, I'm going to take those programs and I'm going to bring those people to their own committee, and they're going to work with me on bringing the grants necessary to tackle this program or the people necessary to tackle this program. I was watching a show the other day about Huntington, West Virginia, which is fighting the same battle. I don't know if you saw that show. Yeah. They have someone embedded with the police going out so that when they arrest a drug dealer, the people around them that may have an addiction issue, she can address them right away and try to get them into programs, get them into programs. We need to do that in Fall River. We need the people in programs trying to get better. I'm not going to leave someone that has cancer out on the sidewalk without treatment. I'm not going to leave someone with leukemia sitting in one of our classrooms not going to the doctor. Those people need treatment, they need help. For whatever reason, they got a bad deal with the cards and they need help. And we got to help them. And a mayor that has the compassion necessary, that's grew up dealing with these kind of problems, would be the person I'd want on the front lines of that fight.
You mentioned in your opening remarks here that there's been some contention for quite a while now between the mayor and the city council. How do you see your relationship with that body if you're elected?
Keith, I think that's something we can do so much better. When we first got elected, Jazel came in the same time that I did, and he had explained to us at a meeting with the council and the school committee how things were going to be different. We were going to meet regularly, we were going to discuss issues, and we were going to go to his office, and we weren't going to violate any open meeting laws. I respected him for that because we don't want to do that. He brought us to his office one time. I think I went up there with Eddie Costa, and we talked to him once about some issues that were in the schools. That was it. It ended after that. We never went back up. I've been there with him 4 years. He never called me to meet him for coffee, although before the campaign I did. I plan on sitting down with these guys and having conversations with them, just like we're talking today. Hey, Cliff, Derek, what do you need? What can we do to make the city better? Can I help you? What are you thinking of? What's your ideas? That's what it takes. Conversations and building relationships with all of your local officials and your state officials and your federal officials. If you can do that, you'll make Fall River stronger.
Well, Paul, thank you very much. I wish you all the best in the election.
I hope you... I wish you well, but I hope you all consider voting for Paul Coogan on September 17th for mayor. We can do better in Fall River.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We invite you all to make sure and get out and vote on preliminary election day, September 17th.